You can't make this
Long time.
Hello, guys, and thank you once again for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Let's get right into talking about the Indianapolis Colts and the Indiana Hoosiers. In this episode, we're going to talk about what is the predictions of what is going to happen in the upcoming game against the Bengals and their backup quarterback, Browning. I feel like it's going to be another tight one for the Indianapolis Colts this weekend, and that's what we've been seeing all year. But I'm getting more and more confident in Gardner Minshew. We're going to talk about all that in a little bit. Indiana Hoosiers 2-0 in the Big Ten. Talk a little bit about what that means and just kind of how this team is developing. I like what I see so far out of some of these guys, and they're coming along. All that and more on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Reynolds Wrap, for 75 years, saving you time in the kitchen. It's Reynolds Wrap, aluminum foil, in an easy open container. Reynolds Wrap helps save you time in the kitchen. Use Reynolds Wrap to make freezer bags. Line sheet pans with it to save time on cleanup. Halftime of the big game, get back to the game quicker by using Reynolds Wrap. Thank you to Reynolds Wrap for sponsoring this video. All right, let's talk about, so the Colts are on a 4-game winning streak right now with Gardner Minshew at the quarterback position. A lot of great things have been happening for the Colts, and Shane Steichen and Gardner Minshew, I feel like they're getting more and more comfortable with each other and their abilities going forward for the rest of the season. So the Colts sit at 7-5 right now. The Bengals are coming off a Monday night football game where they won a thriller against the Jacksonville Jaguars with their backup quarterback Browning playing and Trevor Lawrence going down with an ankle injury in that game. What will that mean for the Colts in this game? Well, it means the Bengals have one less day to prepare for this. Now, we did see that earlier in the season. I was talking about this because the Colts played the Rams coming off a Monday night game, and the exact opposite happened of what we thought would happen. The Rams just busted out to like a 23-0 lead on the Colts. Hopefully that's not going to happen this time. The Bengals, I think this is a time where winning that emotional game against the Jaguars with a backup quarterback on a Monday night game, and that game went right down to the wire. And Jacksonville, I could look at this game. I've watched a lot of Jacksonville games this year, and they do something that is very annoying. I mean, you could look at this game like, how did the Jacksonville Jaguars lose to the Bengals? But the Jaguars, they play down to a lot of teams' levels. I've noticed that this year. I mean, even the Colts in the first game of the season, and even the game they played them later on, Jacksonville tends to like let teams hang around in games, and that's just indicative, I believe, of a young team and Trevor Lawrence still kind of trying to find his way. I think eventually he will be the type of quarterback that'll just pounce on teams, especially bad teams, and like blow them away. But right now for Jacksonville, it's just not there 100%. But one player we need to talk about for the Cincinnati Bengals in this game coming up this weekend is Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson is just an absolute beast. They're going to have to block this guy one way or the other. This is what I have the biggest fear about. Now, Minshew last week, he lost one fumble. That was a big improvement rather than throwing like 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles. You know, he did have that one fumble where a guy knocked the ball out of his hand down right around the goal line area. They were in the red zone. But Minshew's been doing a better job. But Hendrickson, he can be an absolute game wrecker. And the Colts don't want to let him wreck this game for them. Because in games like this where, I mean, they got a backup quarterback and so do we. I mean, it's going to be a tight game. I mean, this is going to be a tight game all the way. And the Colts are just going to need to figure this out at the very end, how to win this game. The running back situation, I've watched a lot of Mixon with the Cincinnati Bengals. He really reminds me a lot of Zach Moss. How he moves, he kind of takes short, choppy steps. Mixon's not one of those guys that's going to, really like blow you away, like run away from guys all the time. He does have some good speed in the open field, but he's not like maybe a Jonathan Taylor that can really take it to the house from anywhere. Mixon versus Moss. That's going to be a good matchup. I mean, the Colts definitely do. The game last week, they missed Jonathan Taylor in the running game right now. You can see Moss, as great as he is and as hard of a runner as he is, when you want those bigger run plays like 9-10 yards, Jonathan Taylor gets some bigger chunk yards on some run plays that maybe Zach Moss doesn't. But I think the Colts, they're going to have a better chance to run the ball more in this game than they did against the Titans last week, because they only ran the ball for 55 on the Titans, and they need to improve on that. So backup quarterback against backup quarterback in this game, it's going to be Minshew has a lot more experience than Browning as far as backup quarterbacks go, and he has a lot more, he's a lot more familiar with the coach, Shane Steichen, than what the Cincinnati Bengals have in Browning. So let's go over the Cincinnati Bengals team stats. They have 990 total rushing yards, and they've given up 1607 on the ground. They're struggling to stop people's running games, and they're struggling to get people off the field on 3rd and 4th down. So that's going to be huge in this game. Can the Colts win time of possession and grind this game out? One great thing we saw in this game last week against the Titans was that the Titans brought everybody up into the box, and the Colts threw some deep balls to Pittman, Pierce, a couple of times. That really set the tone for opening this game up for really what it became was the Colts really passed the ball in big opportunities, and where normally they run the ball a lot more and are a lot more successful at that. So seeing Minshew win a game where he passed the ball for over 300 yards and they had 2 players over 100 yards. Now let's talk about the Bengals for 1 second. Chase can be absolutely, he torched Jacksonville down the sideline on a deep play. He can absolutely burn the Colts. The Colts will have to bracket him or have Blackman covering him over the top as a safety for most of this game. So the Colts, they have a great chance to win this game. I believe this game's just going to come right down to the wire. There are some critical matchups in this game. And the Colts defense, that was the last thing I want to talk about. What they have to do in this game is the Colts defense has to get a couple of sacks. Across the board, everybody on the Colts has 5 sacks right now. Like Ibukam, Ndangbo, Buckner. There's 5 guys on the team with 5 sacks. I believe Franklin has a couple of sacks. So the Colts, they're going to have to get home and get some sacks from their front line. I believe they'll play in zone coverage on this guy, and I think they should. I think you play zone coverage against this guy and you try to get home with your front 4, because tip passes, the things you see when you see backups out there, you see a lot of throws like throwing a screen pass on a running back before he's really ready and the ball bouncing off of his hands up into the air. These are the types of timing plays and things that backup quarterbacks just sometimes get a little bit rushed or a little bit here or there. They will make some of those mistakes. All right. Enough about the Colts. Let's talk about the Hoosiers. They are 2-0 in the Big Ten. They are 6-1 or 7-1 overall. They beat Michigan. Something's going on with Michigan. I don't know what happened to Juwan Howard. He was not really coaching the team, and somebody else was coaching them. That game was on Peacock, which I absolutely hated because I couldn't rewind the game or anything, and I couldn't rewatch it also, which is a huge pain in the butt. Just I can't fast forward and rewind when I'm rewatching the game. So normally I rewatch the game and then I can go over see more of what happened during the game. But the Hoosiers got the victory against Michigan. That was huge for them to go to 2-0. I don't know how good Michigan is, but to tell you the truth, I don't know how good any of these Big Ten teams are. Michigan State was supposed to be the top team up there, maybe number 2 behind Purdue. They were, considered one of the top teams, and they've lost. They're like 4-5 right now, and they've lost. I don't know who all they've lost to, but they're just really reeling and on the fence. So Indiana, these guys, Ware and Mbako and Renew, when Ware and Renew really play well, and this Mbako guy is really coming on and playing better and better, when those guys play well, it's obvious to me that Ware just has so much more talent than what we had with Ware and Renew playing up front starting. We have so much more talent there than we did with Race Thompson and Trace Jackson-Davis. And not that I loved watching those guys play, but their abilities were just so limited. It could be difficult to watch them struggle out there physically on the court when Jackson-Davis is 6'9", and that's a big difference because Ware is 7 foot. And Renew just has a lot smoother moves around the basket even than Jackson-Davis or Race Thompson ever did. So I love what I'm seeing so far. This Indiana team, yes, I could do like what all the fans do and, complain about this guy or complain about this guy. Gabe Cupps is doing a great job. I'm not saying he's better than Xavier Johnson. He's just more level-headed. Xavier Johnson sometimes in games, and especially in some big games like the UConn game, I felt like he came out in the UConn game and he got so out of his head in the first 5 minutes of the game, he completely took himself out of the game. So Gabe Cupps has been out there. I don't know when Xavier Johnson's coming back, but he's really done a great job filling in at point guard and just getting the team rolling and not making it like all about himself or anything else. I'd like to see Gabe Cupps step into some 3-pointers and start shooting the ball, get a little bit more confidence to put up a couple of shots during some of these games. But overall, Trey Galloway, the play of the day in the Michigan game, I thought with about 2 minutes left, Ware made a cross-court pass to Galloway. Galloway had a wide-open drive in and got the 2 points. Indiana took the 2-point lead right there at the end of this Michigan game, and they never really, Michigan tied it maybe once, but they were, from that point on, they were able to stay ahead and win this game. So huge win for the Hoosiers. Be looking forward to the Colts game this Sunday. I'll make another video tomorrow. We'll talk more about the Colts and kind of like what's going to happen. Grover Stewart coming back for the Colts as well, so that's going to be huge for the defense. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. But thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Until next time, stay classy out there, Colts and Hoosier fans.